So today we're going to talk about decluttering your craft room. Now this is a big job, but I'm going to help you through it step by step. Coming up next. Hi everybody, my name is Dee Burks and this is Retirement Rescue, where we talk about how to make money, save money, and live well in retirement. Well, almost all of us who craft, sew, paint, have multiple hobbies, you probably have a room full of stuff associated with those hobbies. Even if it's not all in one room, it's probably in various closets, drawers, under the bed, on top of the dresser. It's everywhere. Well, let's talk about how you go about decluttering all of your craft items. And I really love those videos where someone goes in and they reorganize their room and it looks all pretty. But honestly, I don't think that's super helpful. Well, it's fun to watch. I mean, I enjoy watching those too. They're kind of soothing, actually. It's not really helpful as far as really decluttering your own items. So I've come up with a step-by-step process where you can declutter the items associated with each craft area, whether it be sewing, painting, whatever, and then make those decisions. What do you keep and what goes? Honestly, that's the hardest part. What do you keep and what goes? Now, this is part one where we're talking about decluttering, but in part two, which I'm going to release next week, I'm going to talk to you about how to organize the items you decide to keep. That's really important as well. One of the reasons we have so much clutter associated with our hobbies is we don't know what we have. This is why you have 15 pair of scissors. This is why you keep buying the same tube of titanium white paint over and over and over and over. I've done this a few times. So I'm going to give you some great ideas, not only for decluttering, but also organizing in a way that keeps you from buying things repeatedly. So let's get started. Now understand, when I talk about decluttering and organizing, I'm not talking about just moving around all the stuff. I'm talking about getting rid of some things. So what that requires is for you to really think about what you actually use and how you use it. I think we all buy tons of supplies with intentions of what we're going to do and how we're going to use it, but that is not always what happens. So before you even get started, realize in your mind and be honest with yourself, what do you use and how do you use it? That will allow you to pare down to the crafts that you actually do want to continue doing, and then make decisions on which projects within those crafts you're actually going to complete. And you can get rid of everything else. That makes it so much easier. Now let's talk about step one. Step one is to gather everything for one craft that you do in one location. All of us have things stuck all over the place. We have sewing stuff here and quilting stuff there and painting stuff here. Gather everything for that one craft in one location. Everything that's related, one location. Before you can declutter, you have to have all the clutter together so you can even see what you have. Now, once you gather everything into one spot, the next step is decide, do you want to continue to do this craft or not? I mean, did you used to do scrapbooking big back in the day, but now you haven't done it in years and years and it really doesn't excite you anymore? You have to make a decision. Do you want to continue that craft? Now, once you make that decision, do you keep it? Do you not keep it? You still need to do the next step. And this is step number 3. Go through all of that stuff for that craft. Get rid of anything that's trash, anything that's broken, anything that doesn't work, anything that's not good anymore, that wouldn't be useful to you or anyone else. Go ahead and trash that stuff. I mean, if you have gathered together all your acrylic paint and half of it's dry, throw it out. Throw it out. Even if you're going to get rid of that stuff and donate it or sell it, y'all, You don't want all that bad stuff in there with it. So go ahead and declutter that before you do anything. Now, one of the things I am going to talk about at the end of this video are some neat ideas of what you can do with the things you don't want to keep, but are still good. So be sure and stay tuned for that. Now, once you've decluttered that pile and you've gotten rid of the broken stuff and things that aren't any good, that just don't work, then if you're not going to keep those items, put them all in a box and set them aside, and we'll talk about what to do with that at the end of the video. But if you're going to keep this stuff, and now you've gotten rid of all the junk basically, you have to think about, okay, how am I going to do this craft moving forward? Which of these items do I want to keep that I'm actually going to use? And let me give you some examples of what I'm talking about. If you're going through your yarn stash, maybe you crochet or knit, but you're going through your basic yarn stash, and you come across one skein like this. Y'all, I don't even know what I bought this for. I can't even think of what it was. I don't know. I can't think of anything that I'm going to do with this yarn at all. So it needs to go. I also bought this yarn. This is a little baby yarn, because I was thinking when my son was having his children, one of them would be a girl. Didn't happen. I only have one skein of it. And it's really tempting to think, oh, well, I'll just go buy some more of that yarn and do something with it. That's not helping you. If you haven't done anything with it for years, and you know what I'm talking about, years, now's not the time to go and buy a whole bunch more stuff. Unless there is a specific project you're going to do right now with this, let it go. Now, there are also things like this. Your basic worsted weight yarn from Walmart, in a standard color like black. I can tell you right now there are going to be many projects where I probably can use this. So this I'm going to keep because it's a standard color. It's a basic worsted weight yarn that I use all the time, and I can always find a place to use this. Now, if it were like fluorescent orange, no, I would get rid of it unless I had a specific project I was going to do right now. I would get rid of it. But since it's basic black, there will be a project where I use it. All of us have a lot of stuff, but going through and thinking, okay, when was the last time I used this or thought about using this? What is a project I can complete right now with this? And if there's not one, it probably needs to go. Is this something I can realistically use in a project in the future? Let me give you some examples of this. Let's say you're going through your sewing notions and you have buttons and you have seam rippers and you have zippers, and go through and look at those. Are they even still in style? A lot of us have stuff we have accumulated over 30 years. Even if you had a project to use it in, it wouldn't be suitable. Go ahead and put it in the get rid of pile. Digging through my notions and sewing things, I found a set of shoulder pads, you know, like from the 80s set of shoulder pads. But all of us have those items we just haven't gotten rid of. So go ahead and set those aside. If there is not a project you're going to use it for right now, and there is not a project that you can think of you'll be using it for in the future where it would be in style or suitable or a neutral color, then go ahead and get rid of it. One of the reasons we gather so much clutter when it comes to crafts is we'll buy things without a specific project in mind. And when you do that, a lot of times it can sit. If you just buy a fabric because it's cute, or you think, hey, maybe I'll make a blanket, or maybe I'll do something cute with this. If you don't have a specific project in mind, it tends to sit. So that is really a determining factor. Is it still in style? Is it a color you use all the time? And do you have a specific project you can use it on? If the answer is no, you really need to go ahead and let that go. Put it in the let it go pile. Now, once you get that done and you get everything in that little pile, or big pile, in my case, big pile, decluttered, group those items by project. If you have enough items to do that project, or all of the items that you originally purchased to do that project are there, group them by project. This is the next step on the way to actually completing these projects. Group them by project. And let me give you an example of what I mean by this. Okay, quilters, I'm talking to you. I group things by project quilts. This is a Christmas quilt, bear paw pattern. All of the print are cut out and grouped together. It just needs the solid color and backing. That's it. It's all grouped by project and in a lovely Ziploc bag. Same thing with this. These are 2.5-inch scrap squares. As you're going through your fabric scraps, those scraps you don't have anything to do with, it's really great, I have found, to group them into standard scrap piles, like 2.5-inch squares. This one's Dresden plates that are all cut out of scrap fabric. And as I go through my scraps, there will be times when I'll spend days cutting out different scrap quilts and grouping them together by project. So when I'm kind of needing a project to do, they're right there ready to go. And this is a great way to do it. You can group it by project. If at some point I decided to say, get rid of my Dresden plate cutouts, do you know how many quilters would love to have this? It's already cut out and everything. They just have to sew it together. And so grouping it like this makes it much more usable for you, and will make it much more usable if you passed it on to another quilter or ended up getting rid of it at some point. But this takes up way less space. It's grouped together. It's ready to go. But if you take the time to really organize by project, give yourself projects to do, make a list, and actually start doing them, you have a much better chance of success. And here again, even if you give those things away at some point, some of those scraps, or if you give away some cut out quilt patterns, those are really useful for someone else. Now the last part, of course, is going to be organize and store, which I'll do a whole nother video on that. But let me talk to you about what you're going to do with those items you decide you don't want anymore, but are still usable. People who craft, sew, paint, hey, we're always looking for a deal. Supplies aren't cheap. And so if we can get a really good deal, a grab bag of yarn, a bunch of frames from a painter, so there will always be a market for supplies. So you can sell them, of course. You can donate them. In thrift stores, that's one of the things that always moves quickly, are craft items, because people are always looking for them. But there is an even better idea that you may like. Here in Raton, we have a quilting store, and it's called Patchwork Phoenix. The owner of Patchwork Phoenix is Laura Brewer. One of the things Laura does is she holds classes to teach kids how to sew. And not too long ago, another YouTuber, Becky Thompson, and her YouTube channel is called Power Tools and Thread, and I'll link everything I'm talking about below so you can watch it later. But she did a video where she went to Laura's shop when she was holding one of these classes. Now, Laura teaches these classes kind of out of the goodness of her heart. These are not money-making classes. These are really to get kids interested in these traditional crafts. And Becky went when she was having a sewing class for kids. And in Becky's video, you can see exactly what they're taught, the notebooks they get, the different lessons they do. It's really one of the coolest things you will ever see. It is really a neat concept. And Laura accepts donations of sewing notions, fabric, and that sort of thing specifically to teach these classes. So that's one idea of what you can do with your items that are still good that just need a use. Maybe you know a scout leader, a youth organization, someone who would like this idea. They can contact Laura. She will share her information with them on how to teach these classes, and they can do the same thing. You can also send donations you have. You can contact Laura. Her information is below, and see if she has a need for what you have to donate. If she does, she'll let you know, and you can send it to her. so she can teach more and more of these classes. But like I said, the video's linked below. Please go and watch it. It is the cutest video ever. I was really impressed with how good a job Becky did filming this, which is why I didn't go film it. Becky did a great job. And so please go and watch that when you get a chance. And be sure and check next week for part 2 of this video on organizing your craft room. Now, if you've enjoyed this video, please click subscribe, and I'll see you next time.